Greetings, everyone. Happy Monday and happy Chiefs Super Bowl winning week. I'm your host, Mallory McCoy, and welcome to this week's live stream episode of A Monday Moment with Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment. My love is extended to all who need a little extra, and may my light exude positivity and kindness. Ashe, let's seize the moment. Woo-hoo-hoo. What about those Kansas City Chiefs? Today's a great day today. I'm wearing red not only to commemorate the exciting win of the Chiefs last evening, but this week is the week of love. We have Galentine's Day tomorrow. That's for the single ladies. Oh, the single ladies. Oh, there's a Beyonce reference. And then I learned that tomorrow is also Black Love Day. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure that your timeline will be full of all of those celebrating Black Love Day. Of course, Wednesday is Valentine's Day. It's um, a capitalist holiday, so everybody's going to be making it rain on the people. But here in Kansas City, it's actually going to be a red snow day because the school districts are going to be canceling schools and everybody's going to be out for the parade, which is going to be crazy. I mean, they've had like three parades and I haven't been to any of them because my son would not be able to handle all of that craziness. But it's exciting for the people of Kansas City and the Usher Bowl. Oh my goodness! Did y'all see my story? Because if you saw my story on Facebook, you will know that after the halftime show, I was literally sweating. So I stayed at home yesterday because my son wasn't feeling very well. My cousins had a party anyway, but I stayed here and I had a party here because, oh my goodness, the whole from the top of the show to the bottom of the show, all of the commercials, all of the excitement. I was just having so much fun on the couch and I was getting to be creative too. And I didn't have to dress up to go anywhere. So it was perfect. But the Usher Bowl, so I got to see him in Vegas in November. You guys have to go read my blog, Vegan Las Vegas. Anyway, he was just as fantastic as performer as he was at the Super Bowl. And one thing on my timeline I saw that people were surprised about is that he incorporated skating into his show. But anybody that went to the Vegas show knows that he was skating on stage. So it was just really cool, nostalgic. Usher has such a long, long catalog of songs. And so when he was shortening them, I was getting frustrated because I was like, I know all the words to this song, but he did a phenomenal job. And come on, her came out with that guitar solo. I love eight keys. I That piano was like life. Like, can everybody have one of those in their houses? And people talked about her singing, and her first note was a little rough, but know that when you're in a very, very public situation like that, anything can be anything. When you listen to singers on the radio, they there's a lot of things that have gone into play to make them sound how they sound. And so in live performance arena, anything can happen. Just like here in this live stream, anything can happen at any time and you can't go back and do anything about it. So anyway, I wanted to address that because I saw that. And then Beyonce dropped two country songs. See, I saw these glitter boots on Temu. Okay, who else learned last night? I saw a lot of y'all learn last night that it's not Temu, how I've been saying it, but it's Temu. Anyway, I saw some glitter boots on Temu, and they've been sitting in my cart and I haven't purchased them yet. But I said, I'm gonna have to learn how to line dance again. I used to know how to line dance. And I'm gonna have to get my cowgirl stuff up because Beyonce came with it, and her new album drops March 29th, and it's a country album. So I love it, and I love that it collides with Black history because country music started in Black culture. Argue with your mama. Anyway, I love it all, and I listen to both the songs, and I love it too. So, and then the halftime show was just Black excellence: Ludacris, Jermaine Dupri, Will I Am. Who else came out? A Keys, her. Uh, I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but oh my god, it was just last night. And then of course the Chiefs won, and that was very, very like I held my breath. A lot of the or a lot of the game, I held my breath. I said a lot of the show because it was still Usher Bowl in my mind. Anyway, I also wanted to say uh, thank you for all the well wishes on my Facebook post about my graduation date, but I actually haven't defended yet. So, in order to become Dr. McCoy, I have to defend my dissertation. So, send all your love and good vibes to me on May 1st at 1:30 because that is when I will be defending and I will become Dr. McCoy on that day. Period. Like, and then the ceremony for the graduation is May 19th. And so just super excited to be Dr. Mallory D. McCoy. And I know people say it just like to say it, but I actually am saying it because it's true. I have literally waited my whole life for this moment. So I'm really excited and I can't wait. And I'm almost done. I still have a few things to write on chapter 5 Wednesday during the Chiefs parade while I'm at home. I will certainly do that. Okay, let's get into it. You know I do a did you know because I'm I'm team facts over feelings and I love a good definition. You know I love a good definition. So let's get into it. Being that I have lived in a leadership space and a leadership mindset with this doctoral program over the last 4 years, I know one thing that my program focused on heavily, and I spent countless classes reflecting on it, was my own leadership skills and my personality traits, because both of those affect how I would lead at the building level in education or the district level. So very, very important. One thing that I noticed though, while we were going through these, was that the lines often were blurred between what is a skill and what is a trait. For example, they have all these assessments that you can take that tell you, where you lie. And one example of an assessment that I've taken is the Clifton Strengths assessment. And that actually helps you to determine what your innate skills are by asking you like 5 million questions. I felt like it was 5 million questions. It was like an essay. And I've also taken the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram assessments, but those are both personality trait assessments. So according to dictionary.com, a skill is the ability coming from one's knowledge, or the ability of coming from one's knowledge, practice, aptitude to do something well. So it's something that's practiced. And then a trait is a distinguishing characteristic or quality, especially from one's nature. Simply put, skill is something that you learn, and a trait is something that you're born with. If you put those both in two different houses. Um, for example, but also let's note that a trait can be learned and a skill can be natural. So I think that's where the confusion comes when we're talking about skills and traits. For example, you can be naturally empathetic, but you can also grow in your ability to be empathetic. You can gain other skills to be empathetic. So that's why this line's often skewed, and there's no hard boundary between the two. So, for the purpose of this episode, I'm going to assert that every skill I'm talking about needs to be learned beyond the basic level. So, even if you have this as an innate trait, Innate trait. That's saying the same thing. Innate natural trait. Okay. Anyway, uh, I'm going to assert that what I'm talking about, the top 5 skills, that you have to learn them. You have to do something else. For example, listening skills must be learned. Every teacher in the room says amen because there are certainly levels to listening. We practice active listening in the classroom. Do I have your eyes? Do I have your attention? Is there anything else driving your attention away? So on and so forth. And I am certainly still working on my active listening skills because I think I have a little undiagnosed ADD because my attention's all over the place. So, anyway, last week I spoke about relationships in a broader sense. And the biggest takeaway that I wanted you, the listener, to take from the episode is the importance of optimizing the relationship with yourself, like all the way to the love stage of it, like you pouring deep into you. You deserve to give yourself the grandest love you can conjure up for yourself. That way, you have a standard of how you need to be loved. You can fill your cup instead of waiting for others to fill your cup. So you can stand as a pillar of love to yourself. And with the ability to do that, you set yourself up to journey towards mastery of the skills you need to function in a relationship with someone else before actually being in relationship with someone else. So you work out all the kinks of individual skills that you need to have to love yourself, and then you get with someone else to learn how to not love, because that's used synonymously sometimes with relate, but anytime I say the word love, I'm also talking about relating to the person. So let me clear that up. But every action requires even the basic level of skill set. Therefore, both intimate and platonic relationships require skills of all sorts, including but not limited to communication skills, conflict resolution skills, listening skills, emotional intelligence skills, empathy skills, honest self reflection, financial management skills. Whew, so important. Intimacy skills, sex skills, because intimacy and sex are not the same. Teamwork, compassion, and patience. And like I said last week, I'm actively living the relationship experience I'm talking about today. And but because I'm actively living it doesn't equate to me having mastered the relationship skills that I'm talking about, because everybody's on a journey. So uh yeah. Anyway, last I also spoke about the voluntary personal relationship last week, aka the romantic relationship, because we have many different dynamics of relationships in our lives. But to me, there's always been something special about a romantic relationship because you elect to love the person. You elect to relate to the person. It's by a choice. You're choosing however long you choose to be in partnership with someone else, like you, but you're making the choice. No one's forcing you to do it. And so that's why it's called voluntary, and then it's personal because you're, you know, relating and showing affection to and sharing intimacy, certain levels of intimacy with this person. So before I get into my list, I need to let you know that this is not a comprehensive list, and the list is in no particular order, but these skills have just been ones that I have noticed that are important to a relationship. Um, and also I should note that these skills are ones that not only have found beneficial, but I also have noticed that myself or my partner are actually horrible at them, and we need to get better at building the skills. So here are my top 5 in no particular order. Number 1, showing respect. To be respectful is a trait that one can have, But when you're relating, there are abilities you have to demonstrate to show that you're able to respect yourself and others. You can demonstrate this by listening to your partner's feelings, honoring their boundaries, because it's important to set boundaries, supporting their passions, and talking kindly about them. This is one that I have surprisingly struggled with in my relationship because to me, I feel like respect is subjective. There's like no list of things. Well, I mean, there's lists that we can agree on a societal level of what respects looks like and what respect doesn't look like. Um, but I, in my relationship, I feel like it's been subjective in a sense, like, you know, I I'm just being who I am, and then that's disrespectful. So if being who you are is disrespectful, then there's a problem. But I just say, like, of course, you have to have conversation with your partner too, to determine how they feel respected. So that communication piece is key. But I'm going to talk about that because that's also one of the things. But it's the how, it's not the what, because I feel like we can all communicate, but that's a skill too, and that's encompassed in another thing I'm going to talk about. So accountability is another skill that we should have, but I'll tell you, this one also is a hard one, and not just for me. I noticed that it's difficult when I'm teaching in class with children. They'll be like, "No, I didn't do it," and you saw them do it. And then I also have noticed this when, like, in my fellow millennial population, that was a skill we certainly missed. We struggle with being accountable to our actions. And then astrologically speaking, I'm a whole Leo over here. So it's hard for me to say sorry and admit when I'm wrong. I also fail to be accountable in instances where I feel like I would be reprimanded for my actions because they're not pleasing to my partner. And there's some things wrapped up with that though, because I told you I'm a recovering people pleaser. So there's that. And then I've also feel like I've experienced a lack of emotional safety. And so both of those are factors in play to that part. Like, not being able to be accountable because you feel like you're going to be reprimanded. Um, it's there's something wrapped up in that, and certainly it's the ability to exercise honest self-reflection. So not just self-reflect, because people can self-reflect and they can tell you what they think they see in them, but if you're able to listen to constructive criticism, because some people aren't actually able to see themselves wholeheartedly, they have created this picture about themselves that may not necessarily align with how they actually are. So being able to take constructive criticism from people who are outside of you is incredibly important too. Ultimately, I try to inject accountability in action when I'm talking with my students. And so I feel like I'm doing my societal part in building that skill with kids. But this one's like, it takes practice and it's not innate because our amygdala goes into protection mode and we want to protect ourselves. And so one of the ways that we protect ourselves is not being accountable. Um, so you have to be intentional about it. And ultimately, not only be accountable to your actions, but atonement is also important. And that could be a whole episode by itself. But for those of my friends who have not heard atonement, atonement is actual changed behavior after you apologize. So you apologize, you say, I'm sorry. And then if you keep going back and doing the same thing, then you didn't atone for, like, you don't understand why you're sorry. And so these are all skills that have to be practiced. Okay. My third one is emotional intelligence. And there's a lot of things wrapped up in emotional intelligence. This encompasses all the skills you need to demonstrate that you understand your own emotions and the emotions of others. So, self awareness, ability to understand your emotions. That's you. Self regulation, ability to manage your emotions. I just wrote a whole dissertation about uh, two of these skills. Social skills, which includes active listening and verbal and nonverbal communication. Because some of you may know are part of my paradigm. My son is nonverbal and he doesn't use words to communicate with me, but baby, I know a lot of what he's saying because his nonverbal communication is so strong. Facial expressions, our body expressions, empathy skills, which we just talked about that as um, well, I don't think I talked about that a little earlier, but empathy skills, the ability to understand someone's emotions from their point of view. So not how you feel, but how they feel from their point of view, jump in their shoes. And then a part of being emotionally intelligent is also being intrinsically motivated, which means your motivation doesn't come from if I do this, I'm going to get something. You're going to do it because it makes you feel good, or something inside of you is being pumped up by what you do. So that is emotionally intelligent. And I'll tell you, I in this area I have some glows and I have some grows. But even at the age almost 40, even at the age of almost 40, because I ain't 40 yet, I'm still building these skills. I find the harder ones are directly tied to either my trauma triggers or my astrological program. Whatever the case, all praises to the Most High for bringing me to this point of awareness, because it has not been easy and I'm not the most emotional person sometimes. Number four, conflict resolution skills. Raise your hand if you are a peer mediator at any time in your K through 12 school experience. Pick me. Of course, I was the peer mediator. Raise your hand if you were trained in restorative practices as an educator and often triage children as they navigated through their conflicts that they were having. Oh, pick me. And I was really good at that. Raise your hand if you and your partner have either mastered or are just really good at conflict resolution. Not me. And why am I so great at these things outside of my relationship? It takes, I think it just really takes this one. It's not just about you, it also is about the skill of the person that you're interacting with. And so, this goes beyond having emotional intelligence, because a lot of emotional intelligence has to deal with you, but when you're in conflict with someone else, then it's your skills plus their skills that you're having to put together. And so that can be difficult if you're in a mismatched skill set situation. As far as marriage is concerned, in the people's large scale misinterpretations of traditionalism, ritualistic religion, and in the attempt to preserve patriarchal ideas, the flow and the ebb of conflict resolution and relationship can be subconsciously muted due to the S word, clutch pearls, submission, which is a largely misunderstood term, because ebb and flow is like this. It's not like this. So, um, anyway, in the infamous words of Nene Leaks, I said what I said. But that's a topic for another day. And then um, my last skill that I kind of put two together. I know I didn't kind of. I put two together, but these are not the same thing. Intimacy and sex are not the same thing. But I put them together for the sake of this list because I said top five, not top six. Intimacy is the closeness you can feel with someone else. And it's not just a physical closeness. So one can be emotionally intimate, intellectually intimate, experientially intimate, sensually intimate, spiritually intimate, and creatively intimate. All examples of intimate needs or intimacy needs. Furthermore, your partner that you are relating with may not be able to provide all the ways that you need intimacy and need to experience intimacy. So you may look outside of yourself for others, whether it be friends or just other people of this of the opposite sex to provide this for you. That doesn't mean anything in the way of, I mean, it just would have to be something that you and your partner would be open to and talking about. But I think it's important uh, to not, what is the word? If you need a certain intimacy that the person that you're partnered with is not able to bring you, I don't feel like you should um, restrict that part of you. For example, I am a creative, and I love to be creatively intimate with others. People don't normally say it like that, but when any because music is and singing and just the creation of it is such a soul thing. Anytime that you're in a space with someone else and you're being creative, there's other things that come up too, and you're in that space creatively intimate with them because you're in the closeness of the space. I sing with groups, I am a conductor myself. All of those things are intimate exchange. Does that mean that I am cheating on my partner? No. That doesn't mean it. It just means that I'm having another way to be intimate. I also love to have fun experiences, and I like to be out because I'm a complete extrovert. But in my current partnership, my partner is introverted. So sometimes I have to have experiential intimacy with other people, but I feel like that's okay. Like I had this experience with somebody else, and that's okay. So now, physical sex is another part of this. And I denote physical sex because when we mention sex, we assume that sex is only physical. That may be on the ascendant level of thinking for some. So I'll just stay with what's widely accepted. Sex equals physical sex. But to me, sex can be other things. Um, Sex is a skill that you think you learn by watching the I don't want to get censored on here. Watching what you know what I'm talking about, but that's not even realistic. People think they gain skill by putting in action what they have seen, but even in that, you can't cut, copy, paste, cut, copy, paste that experience to fit everybody. So really is you getting to know your partner and how they are um what their skill set is as far as sex is concerned, and then you build it together. That is also important too because you're coming in, it's just like um like I mentioned earlier, conflict resolution skills. This is also a certain level of conflict resolution. You're coming together with these different skills and you're having to figure out how to make them work, and then having conversation about that because that's important too. Just don't accept what you get. um, so ultimately, each experience should be unique to the people or persons that you're exchanging with. Listen, that ain't my business. You do you, because we know what's happening out here in these streets. Um, but here's my assertion: people with a level of sex skill should also have a high level of physical intimacy skills. Amen. Also, it shouldn't be noted that the pleasure of sex is for all people involved, not just the male species. Raise your hand if you receive the message of sex for only being for the man, either directly or indirectly. When you were not told anything about sex and had to learn from other avenues about how to have sex, raise your hand. Ooh, pick me. Okay, just me. All right. Anyway, when this occurs, it is a beautiful way to connect. It's also another topic for another day, and argue with your mama, not me. So, when I got into this, I was like, ooh, this topic was a little heavier than I expected. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Notice I mentioned nothing about honesty, trustworthiness, kindness, supportiveness, loyalty, commitment, or thoughtfulness, or commitment or thoughtfulness, because these all fall in the trait category. Are they important to relationships? Yes, but I talked about skills that you can build, not traits that you should have. Okay, that's just a nerd thing. I'm a nerd, so if you made it this far, my question is, I think it's important. I'm curious to know what skills are important to you and your relationship. And, I have a small audience at this point, but my audience will grow. My audience is growing. And so if you think that I missed something, please DM me, or you can respond right here. I can see what your comments are, and I'll respond. Okay. So to wrap up, before we leave, I have to have a quote and I have affirmations. So my quote today is: knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom, mastering others is strength, and mastering yourself is true power. And I love that. That's loud soup. And then my affirmations for today: I deserve to be loved and to give love. I respect and love my partner deeply. I attract loving and supportive friends. And lastly, I do my part to ensure that my partner feels physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially safe. I know that's a lot, but that's what's required of us. So, oh, I do have one more quote. Oh, you guys notice I have this in the background. I got this from the thrift store, originally $20, but $5 at the thrift store. And then here's a quote that I saw, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so important. I change these quotes every week, by the way, for those of you who tune in every week. Assumptions are the termites of relationships. I'm gonna let that sit for a second. Assumptions are the termites of relationships. Termites could be tearing your house up, but you never know that the termites are tearing the house up because, uh, yeah, it's just eating away from the inside. And assumptions do that to relationships. I think we get in, I know, not I think I know, we get into relationships assuming some things, assuming skill sets, assuming level of skill sets with the people we're partnered with. But out of respect for your partner, it's important to have open conversations to determine where the level of skill set that they have or what traumas they may be experiencing. And if you love that person and you care for that person and you want them to feel emotionally safe with you, you will walk on whatever journey they need to go through or you need to go through. You would hope that they would do that for you. So, that's it for me today. I hope that I was able to impart some things onto you. And next week, I'm excited about next week's episode because I am interviewing the elders in my family about relationships. And I've already done 2 interviews, and just, you know, I've never actually initiated conversations with the elders in my family about relationships. And so I'm curious to have more conversations this week about relationships with the elders in my family. And so next week's episode is going to be entitled, What Did We Learn from Our Grandparents' Relationships? Oh, it's going to be juicy. Okay. Until then, love and peace to all of you. Have the best week, and Red Kingdom. Hey, is it the building?